on a granular basis to indicate what actually happens at the local authority. Over the past few weeks, I should say months, the government have been spreading misleading information about funding of local government. These are blatant lies. There are three sources of funds mainly to each local authority: the parochial revenue fund, the subvention from the ministry, and our own source with our revenues such as building approval and signs and billboard. The road repairs are funded from the parochial revenue fund. The government would want you to believe that all of this money is spent on repairs of road. While it is road related, what that means is that if there are drains to be cleaned, we have to use from the parochial revenue fund. If there are bushing to be done, it has to be used from the parochial revenue fund. If there are retaining walls to be built, it has to be used from the parochial revenue fund. Just at the beginning of each hurricane season, the government always instructed the local authority to use the first 2 months of the road repairs money to clean drains. You will understand why I speak mostly of the KCMC situation, because that's the one I'm most familiar with. But at the same time, it exists in all local authorities. And I want to say quite clearly that I understand the situation of my JLP mayors, because we have talked. Some of them have encouraged me to continue to speak up, and I will continue to do so. In the case of the Kingston and St. Andrews Municipal Corporation, we have received $85 million per month. That is supposed an average. And you would have heard that other local authorities have received as low as $13 million. In the case of the KCMC, we have 40 divisions, and what we do, we have a divisional allocation fund that it is basically shared up, and on average, each council is guaranteed a minimum of $13 million. But that $30 million might seem to be big, but I want to go a little bit further into that. Annually also, I want to go a little bit further. If we are to repair 1 kilometer of parochial road with a width of 6.5 meters wide, it will cost an average of $40 million. And I want to just poetry what is it. Just imagine that you're in Papine Square. And a length of road, at 1 kilometer length of road, is from the Papine Square just a little bit above Hope Gardens entrance. That is what 1 kilometer is. So if we are achieving $85 million, you'll understand it. And I'll go even further. We have far more than 100 kilometers of road. Far more. And it would take roughly $33 million a month if we are to fix those roads in a sustainable way. But put funding aside, $333 million, so we have a shortfall of $248 million a month. That is what it is. But I want to go further. It's not just funding. We're talking about the human resources that is available to the municipal authority. Currently at the KCMC, we only have 4 officers to service all 40 divisions. Ideally, we'd like to have 10. And I'm sure in the rural areas, which would be much more than that. And I want to point out also that it is a responsibility of the Local Government Services Commission who do deal with firing. And we have made many representations to the Local Government Service Commission for the need for more staff. I want to turn my attention now to the issue of own source. And I just want to speak on one particular issue. Last week at the JLP's Era 1 Council meeting, under the banner of Truth Matters, the minister indicated that local authorities received $64 billion from development projects approval fees. That's the furthest thing from the truth. I believe what the minister wants to say is that all local government, local authorities approve investment up to $64 billion. I believe that's what he wants to say. Because in the case of the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation, where I believe most of the development is done, we only had $277 million from building approval fees. And I want to show something more precise. If we were receiving $64 billion, it means that if you just do an average, each authority will get $5 billion. The budget for the KSAMC last financial year was $5 billion. So we do not need to have a local government. We would fund it, all things being the same. That is what it means. And for the KSAMC own source revenue, the total of that 20 streams that you hear the minister speak about, we had a total of $906 million. That's the highest the KSAMC ever achieved, primarily because of the building, the Signs and Billboard campaign, which we have gotten an extra $50 million from. Just imagine the smaller local authorities and the pressure that they are under. I want to look a bit on this subvention, and I would have had some public pronouncement on this. I think it was in last December when I've indicated that we are being shortfall in terms of salaries. The government boasts on its reclassification compensation package, and they are not paying up. They are not providing the resources each month, adequate resources, let me say, to pay salaries. When I checked, we have to find at the KSAMC an average of $45 million a month to deal with salaries. This is what we have to find from our own source, resources. And we haven't talked about insurance. We haven't talked about all the operational costs, including light bills. For us at the KSAMC, it costs us just for 24 Church Street alone, roughly $2 million a month to pay for our light fees. And we have other buildings that we have to take care of. I want to spend some time now just to talk about some recent pronouncement from Minister Robert Morgan. I would have made it publicly on my position on the One Word Authority. And yes, I've gone to a meeting with Minister Morgan and Minister Mackenzie. And let me say up front, I support the need for standardization and better coordination of road construction right across Jamaica. Our people deserve better. However, I cannot see how One Road Authority solved the fundamental challenge of sustainable finances for road construction and repair. That is also the crux of the matter. And what is troubling is that Minister Morgan boasts how he will, and Minister Mackenzie, will look after, and he cited an example of what exists in North West St. Andrew. And I understand the pain of the residents of North St. Andrew, but not only that constituency, right across Jamaica. But what I want to ask Minister Morgan and Minister Mackenzie, were these roads in that condition before 2024, before we have a PNP-led administration? Why didn't he help at that time? I want to ask him further, is this a backdoor deal to help JLP-led divisions and constituency? I want to ask him further also, in 2020, when we pushed for a resolution to increase the division allocation fund at the KSA-MC, and the Delroy Williams-led administration denied us of that, the residents, not us, why didn't he say something to Desmond? Not to Desmond, but to Delroy. I want to ask him further. He said he called me out to increase the division allocation fund. Wasn't he aware that both caucuses, the JLP and the PNP caucuses, was having discussion about increase? I want to ask him also, isn't he aware that the Delroy Williams-led administration has left me with a big bill of over $200 million for retention? And he also must be aware that they have left me with a similar bill for general bills of over $200 million going back as far as 2021. These are some of the questions that I want to ask him. I am prepared to work with anybody, any organization in the interest of the people of Jamaica. Because it's not about us, it's about the people who we serve. Thank you very much.